From the Beaver County Auto Studios, it is a PittsburghHockeyNow.com quickie. Hi, I'm Dan Kingerski. Let's look at a few things the Pittsburgh Penguins are getting right this season. Now, I don't know what's going on in a lot of the fan base, but I am telling you, there are a growing number of people who want to see this thing absolutely blow up and implode on the Penguins, almost as if to prove negative opinions correct. Like, it's more important to be right about bad things than it is to see good things. It's been a really weird year, social media-wise. I try to keep my finger on it, but man, the number of Penguins fans hating on Penguins players really might be at an all-time high, actually ever. I don't think Generation X and Generation Next, whatever the hell it was called 15 years ago, was this bad. I really, really don't. Let's get into some things, though, because it is still the Christmas season, and, all acquaintance be forgot as we turn the calendar to 2019. Let's get into the things the Pittsburgh Penguins are doing right. And you know what? A lot of it starts with this guy. It really does. He gets a lot of flack for the last 2 summers. The reality very much is he was too patient in 2017, summer of. 2018, he got a good bit right. And we'll start with this guy, Matt Cullen. The Penguins signed several forwards over the summer. Matt Cullen is at the top of the list on things that Jim Rutherford got right. Because look at, outside of a handful of games, Matt Cullen has had a solid B-plus season, maybe A-. He's got 6 points in 25 games. That's not fantastic for even a fourth-line center, but it's certainly better than they had been getting since 2017 when Cullen left. What it is, however, the locker room presence. Think of how bad November was without Matt Cullen, that giant slide. There was no Cullen, there was no Derek Brassard, and they really just went in the tank. Now, without some leadership in the locker room, don't most teams stay in the tank? And then the on-ice product. We've been talking for several weeks now about the Pittsburgh Penguins having a good first line and a good fourth line. Well, that fourth line is Matt Cullen. Special mentions to Derek Grant, who didn't have a great start to his career. In fact, he was demoted and not claimed on waivers. He and Cullen have a little bit of a chemistry brewing on that fourth line. And the Penguins signing Brian Rust to an extension. Brian Rust of the 8 goals in his last 7 games, and in fact had a pair of assists in Carolina. The horror. He didn't have a goal. But the Penguins got that right, signing those forwards in the summer. Not mentioned in the signings, you'll notice. I haven't put Riley Sheahan in that got right yet. I'm not saying they got it wrong. I'm saying I don't know yet if they've got it right. And I'm also putting Jack Johnson in the I don't know if they got it right yet. And I don't really care to hear all the anti-Jack Johnson opinions. Little side note, Pittsburgh Hockey Now has enlisted the help of a professional scout. We don't know what the results are going to be. We are having professionals take a look at a couple Penguins players, beginning with Jack Johnson. And they're going to kind of report back to us. We're going to have scouting reports by actual professional scouts. So we're going to find out what the pros think of Jack Johnson in a Penguins sweater. For that reason, I left Jack off the list. I like a lot of the things he's brought. I know you look at his offense or lack of offensive pressure and say, they got that wrong. It's a very different scenario, and I didn't feel like picking a fight today. So we left Jack and we left Riley Sheahan off of the things, this summer's signings that the Penguins got right. Now, the second thing that Jim Rutherford got right and the Penguins got right. This guy, Casey DeSmith. Man, oh man. I think most organizations on principle alone would have made Tristan Jarry the backup. I had written, maybe Casey DeSmith, but I had advocated largely for Tristan Jarry. I don't know if I wrote it in late August or in September. But for Tristan Jarry primarily to be the backup and to play 35 games to spell Matt Murray. Well, you can see here, it's working out pretty well that the Penguins chose Casey DeSmith. They went for performance over pedigree. DeSmith outplayed Jarry in the preseason, and thus DeSmith gets the backup job. Can I blow that up a little bit? Nope, I guess I can't. A 241 goals against average this season. And a 924, 242 this season, and a 926 save percentage this season. That's extraordinary. And he's doing it, to this point, Casey DeSmith has played the bulk of the season for Matt Murray. If you didn't know any better, you looked just purely at stats. Let me pull up Casey's stats once again. He's played in 31 games. 20 games. I keep looking at the career and the year to date. He's played 20 games of the Penguins' 30-plus games. 2/3, essentially. A bit less than 2/3. That's been DeSmith's season. And he's had a heck of a season with that 926 save percentage. That's another thing the Penguins have got right. Twice before Matt Murray's latest IR stint, DeSmith played 3 consecutive games as Mike Sullivan was giving Matt Murray rest and a little bit of a challenge. Well, now that challenge is official, and I think we've seen Matt Murray respond now that he's healthy and being pushed a little bit. Definite check mark in the Penguins' favor there. Another thing the Penguins have gotten correct, and I want to credit the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette for this photo that we're using in the video here. Marcus Pettersson. I guess that goes back to Jim Rutherford as well, but getting Marcus Pettersson was really a good get for the Penguins. I didn't think they could get something that valuable for Daniel Sprong. I really thought his value had fallen to a later round draft pick. But Jim Rutherford plucked a defenseman who has made the Penguins' defense better. That's laudable. I've made this comparison once on Twitter when he first arrived, because I've done the film study, I've done all of the homework on Pettersson, and I've been watching him somewhat closely recently. And I'll tell you about his game in a second. But he reminds me a bit of Shell Samuelson. For those of you old enough to remember the Penguins' back-to-back Stanley Cups, not 16 and 17, but 91 and 92. I guess Shell was 92 and played for the Penguins for a few years after that. Shell Samuelson, if you're too young to remember, was a 6'6" Swedish defenseman the Penguins got from the Philadelphia Flyers with Rick Tocchet in the big Mark Recchi / Paul Coffey trade. Stay-at-home defenseman, long reach, a little bit of snarl to the game, kind of a deceptive snarl where you don't expect it, and all of a sudden he plasters you on the glass and it hurts a little bit. That's Marcus Pettersson. The Penguins definitely upgraded their blue line, and they've got a young defenseman who's all of 24 years old, is even that old, who could be with them because he's only an RFA to be. He's not a UFA anytime soon. He's an RFA. They've got a young defenseman in their ranks who doesn't make a lot of money. Again, another thing the Penguins have gotten right. Now, here's the important one that I want to get to. If you've been with me all season, you know I've been harping on style, style, style. Stop trying to be the high-flying rush team because opponents figured out the Penguins a long time ago. They couldn't stop them until recently. Well, now other teams can skate as well as the Penguins. And that's been true for probably about 12 months or more. But the Penguins kept trying. Even early this season, the New York Rangers and Montreal Canadiens let the Penguins just skate till their hearts were content on the perimeter. Sure, you go ahead and think you're on the rush. We're just going to get back and pack the zone, and you can flail around like a toddler throwing a fit on the outside. And the Penguins did. Now, here's what's this picture? This is a still from the Minnesota Wild win about a week ago now. What you see here is a defenseman chipping it off the wall ahead to Brian Rust at center ice. What's Brian Rust going to do with it? He's going to chip it into the Minnesota zone. Ta-da! Put the ice in front of you. Make the simple play that the other team gives you. Now count the Minnesota Wild at the blue line. There are 3 of them. Count the Penguins in the neutral zone on the right side of the red line. There are 2 of them. So, Brian Rust could do the Penguins thing and try to skate with it down the wall. Or, what he's doing right here, he just smacks it off the boards into the Minnesota zone. And what happens then? Ta-da, the Penguins have a forecheck. They're pretty good at that. They took the simple play and they capitalized. Jake Gensel comes racing in on the backside. He picks off Devan Dubnyk's pass. Now, let's, for the sake of argument, let's just say that Dubnyk doesn't make a terrible turnover here and hand the puck over to Jake Gensel. The Penguins still have pressure on the Minnesota Wild. If he leaves the puck for his defenseman, Jake Gensel has him. The play for the defenseman is to push it forward on the wall, up to the top of the screen, the little golf dasher board there. What happens then? Brian Rust continues to cut across the crease. Brian Rust gets over there to get the puck. Sidney Crosby, lurking like a great white shark, is reading the play. Wherever that puck is going, Crosby's going to triangulate and be ready to assist on the forecheck and puck pressure / puck pursuit. Or he's going to be in an offensive position. Now, it just so happens in this case that Jake Gensel got a pizza handed to him. And that, my friends, is what the Penguins are doing right. In fact, we probably counted down from 4 to 1. We should have started with style because that is the biggest, most important thing that the Penguins are doing right in these last few weeks, especially. Mike Sullivan said, quote, they're playing closer, or not there, but winning closer to our identity. The Penguins have good speed, but not great speed compared to their competition. The Penguins have muscle compared to their competition, and they've got great skill. This is what we've been writing about since September, and I must say it's a little bit satisfying to see it coming to fruition and being successful. This is what they're getting right. This is PittsburghHockeyNow.com. Do me a favor, leave some comments both on YouTube and on the website if that's where you view it. We'll be doing a lot more of these shorties here in the near future, and not all in the radio studio here. I'm Dan Kingerski. Not that you care. We'll talk again real soon, kids. Have fun.